Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone to this week's seminar. We are gathering everybody here today because we want to make a huge announcement. Our office is opening up the opportunity to bring our own devices to our network. So that's great, right? Well, it is definitely great. However, I wanted to bring this all to your attention because with this great opportunity could also bring some threats, which is why we have gathered you all here. Because if you ask some people, our BYOD could be just as much of a BYOB for our network. So, as I mentioned, bringing in these types of devices is a great opportunity for us to get our efficiency and collaboration up and going. But these devices can also be a bit of a threat to us. So, why is it that this is so important for us to hammer down the why that we think that these devices could be harmful if not used properly? Well, it's because these mobile devices can be just as, if not more, susceptible to online hacking and security threats than a normal desktop in some instances. When you bring your personal devices to a corporate setting, it's your responsibility to make sure that your device is working as intended and is secure so that we can continue to work in an efficient and healthy manner. And also the fact that if you bring a device that has been tampered with, has been hacked into, has viruses or malware installed on it, then you should know that you are putting everybody else's devices at risk around you, whether that be our own desktops or even other mobile devices, as there are plenty of malware out there that are able to leach onto our network and spread around everyone else. So just know that if you bring your phone in with you and it turns out that you had been on some fishy sites, then that compromised your compromised phone could basically just nuke our whole network. So don't do that. Definitely don't do that. So this is why I wanted to hammer that in so much, because this is a great opportunity for us to be able to uh, work so well together in a way that's not as restrictive as on desktop. But of course, one bad apple could just ruin it all. So let me tell you a little bit about what things that we should look for. What are some of the more common ways that mobile devices can be affected and how it can affect you and the people around you at work? So the first obvious one is malware and viruses. So while these devices have some pretty awesome proprietary software that is harder to crack on some levels, considering how close source they are, these devices are not built to withstand your own misjudgment or by people that are incredibly intelligent that are able to find workarounds to this. But more commonly, these types of malware and viruses are going to be installed through some miscare on your own part. So, some basic internet safety precautions are your biggest defense against these types of threats. So, some suggestions you should do is if you're on some websites and you get a random pop up, close that tab immediately, because most of the time that pop up won't do anything unless you click into it. So if you see one, just click out of it. If you see a link that you don't recognize, don't click on that link. Most of the time, uh, you're probably gonna find yourself in a place where like you don't understand what's going on, or like uh, it might not even really be that harmful. But to be on the safe side, if you are kind of screwing around on the web, you could find yourself in some really sticky situations with this. So it'd be best advised, if you find a link that you don't recognize, just don't click on it. And if you are trying to download files onto your phone, it's fine if you have like some JPEGs or some sound files or whatever. But if you find an exe file and you download that, you may as well have just downloaded a script that will just run on its own and just compromise your device. So if you're downloading files, just make sure you don't do exe files, because that will most likely lead to a lot of problems. Another way that you can compromise your device is through sideloading slash jailbreaking. While they have kind of similar but different components to them, but they kind of work in the same way. It's essentially a catch-all term to describe taking your device and removing as many or all of its restrictions to give yourself full access to all of its functionalities. So, while this may seem enticing, like, hey, I can actually, do some things on there like I normally wouldn't be able to, like making your phone its own mobile hotspot, or being able to jump providers. Say if you don't want to be on Verizon and you want to go to US Cellular, you can do that through jailbreaking. Uh, this Doing these types of procedures could lead to a lot more harm than good. But some easy ways that you probably could be able to do this is through installing third-party app stores. So anything that's not Apple Store or Google Play or Microsoft Store. If you use app stores that aren't those three, you're most likely using a third-party site, and you might be able to find some really cool, awesome apps and features that you normally would not be able to through using these softwares. Another way you could do that is just by straight up just disabling most, if not all, of your basic level of security to allow you to gain access to root functions, which is the highest level of permissions that you can have on your device, which is like being able to just alter just about everything on your device by doing this. Oops. Sorry about that. Uh, Another way is by unlocking some network capabilities. So going into your internet settings and allowing your device to do things it normally wasn't allowed to do, like for example, like I mentioned before, opening up your phone to be able to tether, which is to allow your phone to become a makeshift mobile hotspot and allow other devices to connect to the internet or through phone five, or say like 4G or 5G, say. So that's another way that you can jailbreak your phone or your device. So, well, again, like these all seem very cool features. There are a lot of risks that come with that, with them aforementioned sideloading or downloading third-party application stores. These stores most likely are not going to have apps that are signed by reputable sources. So you could just be just downloading malware onto your device, because since they're not regulated, you could just be literally just downloading a virus and you probably wouldn't even know. Allowing your device to have root access, as I mentioned before, while it might seem enticing to have all this functionality, could also mean that you're giving other people that like see your phone as like a known device nearby as like an easy access into it. Because if you have access to the with these mobile devices, if you have access to the root, somebody else will be able to find that access to that root. And as I mentioned too, tethering with being able to become a mobile hotspot, uh, a lot of people can then use your tether and gain access to other phones around them as well, or other devices around them as well. Because if they're connected to that network and see that it's open, then they could just get into those devices and be in and out, and you probably wouldn't even notice. So all in all, because of all these risks, it's best that if you are going to be working in this setting, that you just do not mess around with these types of functionalities. So another cool feature that a lot of mobile devices has is ease of access authentication. So having things like pins and passwords to unlock your phone or thumbprints. And while you're in your phone or your device, there are a lot of autofill authentication that is available as well. So being able to save your passwords onto websites so you can just get into those websites a lot quicker and not have to worry about memorizing 2 billion passwords. So that would be nice. Well, while we're working here, we advise that it would be best to just not mess around with this as much, or say it. We would rather that you make sure that you have two things in mind. The first is to have two secure methods for logging into your device. So having a combination of a PIN and or password and facial recognition or fingerprint authentication, and just having all of that autofill password stuff turned off. And the reason being is because in the event that you lose your phone or your device, then it will be very easy for someone to be able to just crack into your phone and just find all of your sensitive information. So we just suggest just make sure, one, you have a very secure way to make of keeping your phone locked, and only have an unlock sequence that you for sure know and will be very difficult for people to guess or force themselves into, and just have all those autofill passwords turned off. Because if somebody were to grab your device, then if they are able to crack into it, at least it'll be much harder for them to grab all the sensitive information that they want. And lastly is geotagging. So a lot of social media and other avenues have a pretty neat feature to be able to tag your exact location to start up a conversation on social media, or to just kind of be like, hey, this is where I'm at right now. Come check it out. Well, again, yeah, that seems like a really cool feature for social media. In practice, in this company, and a lot of other companies as well, having this feature turned on is going to be a very easy way for cyber criminals to find where we are and make you and or other employees victims of social engineering, which is a complex uh, security threat that involves a lot of social manipulation and misdirection to get any and all information that they want. And they're able to do this because if you were to post something on social media and you have it on, hey, we're located at X, Y, and Z, they'll be like, oh, well, that's where we're gonna go then. These people seem to have really sensitive information that we would like, so let's go. So yes, make sure that when you enter this building, that you turn that off. So, what are some ways then to mitigate that as much as possible? Well, one way that we could do it is through an MDM, which is short for mobile device management. It's a solution that will uh, ensure that all of your devices that you bring are on our company standards. And we can do it through a couple ways, either through manually going through all of your devices and making sure that it has all the safety features that we want, which would be a lot easier on us on a network level, but will take a lot of time to do. So it's probably not the most desirable way of doing it, which is why I suggest that we do it through cloud deployment through Windows Intune, which is an all-in-one software that you will install onto your device, and it will force your phone to or other device to comply with our standards. Now, this might feel like a little bit of a breach, but we want to emphasize that if you bring your device here, that you comply with our standards, which is why we would like to have this device installed if we were to go down that route. So if you don't exactly want to go down that route, here there are a couple other ways that we can do it. We can offer you a device through a corporate assigned device. So we'll just decide on either a phone or a tablet or some type of Windows mobile device that will be designated by us, and it will only contain work related information on there. So that's you can still have the freedom of having a mobile device in your office setting, but none of the information that is put onto that device will be allowed to be personal. It'll only be work related. Another avenue is corporate owned, personally enabled, or COPE, which is like the previous entry. You will just provide and select one device that everybody will then have a copy of, but you will be able to also store some of your own personal data on it, since it will be shared. And the last one is choose your own device, which is another more less restrictive version of COPE, which because it will allow you to have your corporate and personal data stored on it, but then you'll be able to choose what type of device you have. So yes, all with all this considered, we do really hope that we would be able to have some type of infrastructure where we can have all these different types of devices, so that you guys can all be free to use your phones and your tablets to create a really efficient and cooperative work environment. But it should be noted that if you're not careful about what you're doing on the internet and with your device settings, it could just ruin the whole experience for everybody. So it should be noted that if we experience a big enough disruption due to lack of self awareness or any ability to just comply with our standards, we're probably just gonna roll this back. But we really hope that we don't ever get to that place, because really believe that this will be a great benefit for all of us. So with all that in mind, thank you very much for your time. I'm hoping that this is informative of some level, and hopefully from this point on, we'll be able to have an amazing time with our devices here on this campus. Thank you so much, and we'll see you for next week's.